So yeah, so I have like a lot of little extra time right now before I go catch my flight. So I figured I'd go ahead and make this video for you guys as well. So pretty much, when I started the whole flight attendant career or whatever, I knew somewhat about it, but I honestly only knew what I seen on YouTube. And then I did do some research like about like the companies and stuff like that, and watch some of like the videos. Like I know there's like a Frontier like YouTube video or something like that. I did watch that. It kind of scared the hell out of me about training and stuff, but I made it through clearly. But yeah, it was okay. So I was just like, okay, well, you know, I love to travel. You know, I was like, I'm very personable. I love dealing with different cultures and stuff and learning something from those cultures. Because I always feel like, you know, like you can always learn something new from other people. You know what I'm saying? So that's something I absolutely love, especially while I was in London. Like I learned so much from my friend B. She's from Africa. So she had a different point of view on a lot of things. She opened my eyes to a lot of things and vice versa. So we were really able to teach each other, you know, a lot. So, and it just makes you a better person. So I was like, hey, flight attendant, that would be like the perfect job. I don't have to be home. I can move to a new city. And then when I do want to come home, I can just fly home, like, you know, and I'm able to like still travel like I was doing a little bit while I was in London. However, I had to pay for the flights, but I was real broke. So that was a bust. But then I was like, okay, I don't really have to pay for the flights. I just pay like the taxes and stuff, but I still have a job at the same time. So I was like, cool, this will work. How I ended up with my company was I talked to a soror of mine, and she works for Envoy. And so she was telling me about Envoy because I had applied for them as well. Like I applied to several companies. Y'all, when I say I applied, I just applied to everybody. Like Republic, Mesa, Allegiant, American, of course, Delta, United, and what is it, Emirates, and some other companies. The link that I have down below, Frontier, and it's a couple other companies. I can't think of them. They're on my phone, and I'm filming on my phone, so great idea, right? So what I ended up doing was I went to the link that I have in like all of my description boxes, which is the page where it shows you all of the companies that are hiring. So I did that. I went on that link and I just kind of like click and just applied. And my resume, I would say it wasn't really up to like par for real. And then I kind of started to like think like, oh, okay, maybe I should add this to my resume. Maybe, you know, like bring out more things that are more flight attendant related, like safety and just, of course, a bunch of customer service. So yeah, because of course I had got my degree in something else, so that was what my resume was more geared towards. So I had to kind of switch it up a little bit, and like take some things off and then just make sure it was more or less about like safety and customer service. So I kind of did that revamp or whatever, and my responses became a lot better as far as from the airlines or whatever. I was starting to get like face-to-faces, face-to-face invites and, you know, stuff like that. So anyways, with my company that I'm with, like I said, my soror, I happened to be talking to her. I asked her, how did she get her job with Envoy? And so she was like talking to me, and she was telling me how she did it. And then she told me, she mentioned about, she told me about like her crash pad, you know, how it worked. She gave me like a tour on FaceTime, what the crash pad looked like all of this kind of stuff. And so she's a makeup artist. So she was just like, you know, I'm also able to like fly places, and, you know, I can go do people's makeups in different cities. And, you know, like it really just helped like her whole life and everything. So I was like, oh, okay, like that's cool. So she was like, I was like, well, I already applied for your company or whatever. And she was telling me it took her a couple months to get hired. I think like 6 months or whatever for her to get hired. And then she was like, training was like 6 weeks and stuff. And she's like, it was unpaid. And I was like, oh, girl. I was like, I need money. Anyway, so she was like, well, how about you try out the company that I'm with now? And she was like, my line sister, which is of course our SOR, she was like, she works for the company and she loves it. So she was like, I'm gonna give you her phone number. You can, you can talk to her if you want. So I texted her, I was talking to her, and I was like, girl, I don't know, if this is exactly, if this is the move for me. And so, she was just talking to me and telling me about it and stuff. And, she pretty much told me the pros and the cons of it. And I was like, okay, I think I can deal with that. And pretty much, I was like, okay, let me just go ahead and apply right now. So literally, I went on ahead and I applied on April 25th. And and they had an interview, a face-to-face on the 26th. So I was just like, and I think I wrote in like the Flight Attendant Connect Facebook group, I was like, can you apply like the day before there is a group interview, or do you have to like wait for an email, And people responded immediately. They were like, no. They was like, as soon as you apply, they was like, you can apply the day of and still go to a group interview as long as they have your resume on file. So I was like, really? So they was like, yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. So I went on ahead and like I said, I applied the day before, and then the second day I went and I got, I did the whole face-to-face and all that. So, so yeah, that is pretty much how I ended up, with doing the job or whatever. And then, you had to go through training. Training was paid. So that was like a blessing. And then after training was over with, because my seniority was so low in the class, I was literally like third to the last out of like 50 something of us. I waited literally like almost a month. Because if you see my 4-day trip, like one of my very first 4-day trips, that was my IOE trip. And that was literally like almost like the last 4 days. I think I had maybe like 2 or 3 days. I think like 3 days after my IOE was over with until it was August 1st. So I think I ended maybe like the 27th or 28th of July. However, so we finished training on June 29th. That's when we graduated. We were able to come home. And then from that day until like the 25th or something like that, I wasn't working, so therefore I wasn't making any money. So I was out of work pretty much like a whole month almost, and that was only because like things were just kind of backed up and stuff. So luckily I was still able to like travel, and I had managed my money really, really well, so I was still able to do a few things, but I still made sure that I was very, very conservative with my money. So what ended up happening was I almost got into a bind. There was like a crash pad that was, I think, like $300 or something, but the deposit was like $50 that you had to put down, but in total you still paid like $350. So I was like, there's no way I can afford this. Like, I only have maybe $300 to my name, period. So I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So I ended up finding another crash pad that was like $200 and something. So I was able to pay that. Plus, I mean, the deposit was already included in that. So I paid that, and then, and then after that, I had like $80 to my name. So I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get paid. Like, I'm not going to get paid the first part of August. So this sucks. Well, I did get paid. I got paid like only for those 4 days of IOB, and it really wasn't even that much. So, but still, I still had to hold on to that $80 until we got paid. Like, we don't get paid on the first, we get paid like more, almost like towards the middle of the month. So for me, it was still like I really had to like hold on for like a good week and a half with just $80. So mind you, luckily, like the day before my IOE, I went up there, and one of my classmates, she still had like her move-in days or whatever. So like your move-in days is the time that the company gives you to like move, and every company is different. I don't know how many other companies give. We got, I think, like 3 move-in days, I think, and they'll pay for you to be in a hotel for you to move to your new city. So one of my classmates, she still had like an extra room available, and she got called or something. Like the way she set up her move-in days was like right after her IOE. So she was able to like fly in the day of or something, I believe. Or she stayed with somebody the day of. Or like she went up, actually she was from California, so she went up there a few days before. She stayed with somebody else, and then the day of she went on, you know, her IOE, and then after her IOE she used her move-in days then. So I know some of us, we tried to like stack our move-in days so that we could all kind of like share, so that we can figure ourselves out, because some of us were like, well, I kind of want to get a hotel, just kind of live in that for right now so I can figure things out. And other people were like, I want to go ahead and get into an apartment. But, you know, you never really know who you're going to mesh with. Like, yeah, we lived with some of them during training, but still, we didn't all live together, all 50-something of us, you know. So it was still going to be a little bit of an adjustment. So I didn't know who I wanted to move in with or what I wanted to do. So I was like, a crash pad is good for me for right now until I can figure out, you know, if I want to move out, if I can afford to move out, like all these things. I had to figure all of this stuff out. So I was like, a crash pad is just fine for me right now. So my classmate, she got called out on a trip while she had her move-in days, and I think it was like she only had like one more night left or whatever, which is perfect. Me and my roommate from training, if you see my video, you might have seen her. I'm not sure if I showed her, but anyway, so me and her, we both just happened to stay in our other classmates' room for the night because both of us started our IOE on the same day. So we both came in the night before our IOE. We stayed at that hotel or whatever for the day, and then the following day we got up and we started our day. So her IOE was like early in the morning, so she left before I did, and then mine was like later on in the evening, like 5 or something. So I was able to check out at actually like 1 or 2 or something in the afternoon. I don't know, it was like a late checkout that we were able to do. So I checked out late or whatever, and of course the shuttle, it took me to the airport, thank goodness. And yeah, I went ahead and I started my IOE. And my instructor was really, really cool. Y'all see me talk about her in my other video. She bought me like, she said she buys like all of her IOE students like a meal because she knows how hard it is at the very, very beginning. And I was like, oh my God, you don't know how much of a blessing this is right now because I'm so broke. Like, it is ridiculous. Y'all, $80, and I had to make that shit stretch. Like, mind you, I had to eat. And then too, if I went to go buy groceries, I had nowhere to like cook the groceries. So like, what was I supposed to do? So I had to like literally just keep eating out, and that eats away at your little $80, you know? So like when I would buy a meal, I would make sure that the meal could last me for like either like 2 days, or it could last me for lunch and dinner. You know, like I really had to like, somehow I had to make it work. So, still, like, it can be so hard. I'm not 100% sure how some mainline people are like, oh my God, I'm not really making no money. I'm like, girl, how? Like, you need to come do the regional flight attendant struggle because that's no money. Like, I just feel like if you can really make it as a regional flight attendant, especially like a newbie, like what I am right now, then you can definitely make it at mainline. Like, that money, you'll be like, oh, I'm balling. But with this, like, you really on a budget, like a tight budget. So I definitely recommend like you somehow figure out how to manage your money. I know there are some apps that out there that help you manage your money. I think they said Mint is like a good app. I did download it, but I haven't like jumped into it yet. I'm pretty good at doing it on my own. And then it's some other apps or something like, it's some other apps out there or something. I don't know. If I find them before this video goes up, I'll put them in the description box to help any of you out that do struggle with like managing money, because I know that's a lot of people's biggest struggle is managing their money. And like I said, with this job, it's something that you really, really, really need to do. So, so yeah, that's kind of how I got into the whole flight attendant thing. And that's kind of like my struggle at the very, very beginning of being a flight attendant. I'm not saying it's going to be your struggle. You know, you might not even have a struggle, but honestly, it was just me out there. My parents were not happy about this job. They knew it didn't pay that much, and they were just like, I'm not happy about you being in the air. So, you know, I'm just out here by myself. So, you know, I had to really just make it work if this was something that I really wanted. So I made it work. It's working out fine for me so far. A crash pad is perfect for me. I don't really desire to get like a apartment there in Chicago. I don't really know anybody who I would even want to necessarily live with. And then too, some of the people are like trying to transfer out and doing all of this, and like, you know, then you have to sign a lease and all of that. Like, I just can't do it. Not with this job, because people move too much. So I think a crash pad is fine for me right now. And then hopefully, you know, I can, you know, save up and stuff like that and end up getting my own place. But yeah, it won't be in Chicago. But yeah, so for right now, I'm fine where I'm at. I have kind of settled in nicely. I did want to make a video about like my first few months of being a flight attendant, how I like it, pros and cons, stuff like that. So definitely give this video a thumbs up if that's something that you want to see. So yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I have a flight that I need to hurry up and go catch. So I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.